Can Europe go it alone? When Russia launched its all-out invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago, leaders across the continent rallied around what European Parliament President Roberta Metsola called a united Team Europe. Speaking in front of Estonia's parliament, Metsola made the case for strengthening Europe's defenses in the year to come.
Because Estonia knows what is at stake. Why Europe must become the new shining city upon a hill for so many who look to it for hope, for vision, for understanding and protection. This is particularly true when we see what could happen across the Atlantic. Europe cannot waver.
Now, I'm no historian, but it seems to me that Metsola was evoking American exceptionalism when she described Europe as, and I quote, a shining city on a hill. Nor am I a cartographer, but I'll bet my bottom euro that the country, quote, across the Atlantic that she had in mind was not Canada. And this happened.
They asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Former President Trump sparking a collective gasp from European leaders when he indicated he might not uphold America's NATO commitments. Though, to be fair, the only countries that aren't actually paying 2% of their GDP on defense are the ones that aren't at all likely to be invaded by Russia. So, the media's making too much of that. But still, it is becoming increasingly clear to European leaders that beginning in November, they very well may need to go it alone against Russia. So what does that mean in practical terms? In a word, energy. In 2 words, energy security. No amount of weaponry shipped to Ukraine's battlefields will matter if Europe can't keep its own homes lit or its factories running. In 2020, more than half of all the energy in the EU came from imports, and Russia was the main supplier of fossil fuels. Europe's post-pandemic recovery recently drove energy prices up, as did record-breaking heat waves and cold snaps, thanks to climate change. But when Putin launched his invasion of Ukraine, Europe had no choice but to cut off nearly all of its energy ties with Moscow. That resulted in a roughly $1 trillion energy bill for 2022 and increased inflation across the global economy. Since then, the fever has broken. Energy prices have plummeted in the past year, thanks in part to Europe's ability to stockpile large supplies of natural gas, and in part to a relatively mild winter, which decreased energy demand. At the same time, Europe has accelerated the pace of its energy transition to renewable sources like never before. In 2022 alone, Europe added more renewable energy capacity than any preceding year. So with the latest energy crisis averted, it's tempting to think that Europe is now out of the woods, but prices that fall can also rise, and if Europe is serious about its energy security, there is still more work to come. In the meantime, we'll have to see what happens across the Atlantic.